Hello everyone, I'm Elena, your host for today's lesson.
If you are joining us for the first time, I want you to know that we publish a new English learning video every single day on this channel to help you improve your English skills faster and more naturally. In today's episode, you will not only enhance your English listening abilities, but also your speaking and writing proficiency simultaneously. In today's lesson, we are going to explore a highly powerful and practical topic that can completely transform the way you speak English in your daily life. 200 plus essential phrasal verbs for daily English conversations. These are the expressions that native speakers use constantly, and once you start using them, your English will sound more natural, more fluent, and more confident. Throughout this lesson, we will go through real-life situations and examples that will help you understand how phrasal verbs are actually used in everyday conversations. You will learn how to use them when talking about your daily routine, your work, your feelings, your plans, and your experiences. I will guide you step by step so you can not only understand these expressions, but also start using them easily in your own sentences. Many English learners find phrasal verbs confusing at first, but do not worry. By the end of this video, you will feel much more comfortable and confident using them in real conversations. You will also practice with me so you can train your brain to think in English and speak more naturally without translating. Before we start the video, make sure to subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon if you want more helpful English learning lessons like this, because we are here every day to support your English journey. So, take a deep breath, relax your mind, grab a pen and paper if you like, and let us start learning together. Let us start with something simple and natural. Imagine you wake up in the morning and begin your day. In real English conversations, we do not always use formal verbs. Instead, we often use phrasal verbs. These are small combinations of verbs with prepositions or adverbs that completely change the meaning, and they are everywhere in daily English. So today, we will start building your understanding step by step in a calm and easy way. When you wake up, one of the most common phrasal verbs you will hear is wake up. For example, you can say, I wake up at 7 a.m. every day, or I woke up late this morning. This is one of the simplest phrasal verbs, but also one of the most useful. Now, let us add another one. Get up. It sounds similar, but it is slightly different. Wake up is when your eyes open, but get up is when you actually leave your bed. So you might say, I woke up at 7, but I got up at 7:30. Can you feel the difference? This is how natural English works. Now, let us continue with your morning routine. After you get up, you might turn off your alarm. For example, I turned off my alarm quickly because it was too loud. Turn off means to stop something like a device. The opposite of this is turn on. For example, I turned on the lights because it was still dark. These two phrasal verbs are extremely common and used in many daily situations. After that, you might wash up. This means to wash your hands and face. Sometimes people also say, I need to wash up before breakfast, or he went to the bathroom to wash up. Now, another common one is put on, which means to wear something. For example, I put on my clothes quickly because I was in a hurry. You can also say, she put on her jacket before going outside. Now, let us slow down a little and practice together. I will say a sentence and you repeat it in your mind or out loud if you can. Imagine your morning clearly. Say it. I wake up early. Repeat that. I get up slowly. Repeat after me. I turn off my alarm. Again. I turn on the light. One more time. I wash up. Your turn. I put on my clothes. Take a moment. Repeat these again and try to feel the rhythm of English. This is how you build fluency, not by memorizing rules, but by repeating natural patterns again and again. Now, let us continue. After getting ready, you might make up your bed. This means to arrange your bed neatly. For example, I always make up my bed before I leave my room. This is a very common daily habit. Then you might go out. For example, I go out for a walk in the morning, or I went out to buy some milk. Another important phrasal verb is pick up. This one has many meanings, but in daily life, one common meaning is to collect something. For example, I picked up my phone when it rang, or I need to pick up some groceries on my way home. You can see how flexible this phrasal verb is. Now, let us connect these into a natural mini story. Listen carefully. I woke up at 7 a.m. I got up after a few minutes. I turned off my alarm and turned on the lights. Then I washed up and put on my clothes. After that, I made up my bed and went out for a short walk. On my way back, I picked up some fresh bread from the store. Now, this is real English, simple, natural, and full of phrasal verbs. Now, let us practice again, but this time I will pause a little more so you can repeat after me. Say it. I woke up early. Repeat that. I got up quickly. Repeat after me. I turned off my alarm. Again, I turned on the light. One more time. I washed up. Your turn. I put on my clothes. Say it back. I made up my bed. Echo that. I went out. Repeat that. I picked up some groceries. Good. Take a deep breath. You are doing great. Now, let us move into another part of your day. Breakfast time. You might sit down to eat. For example, I sat down and had my breakfast. Sit down simply means to take a seat. After eating, you might clean up. For example, I cleaned up the kitchen after breakfast. This means to make something tidy again. Another useful phrasal verb here is run out of. This means you have no more of something. For example, I ran out of milk this morning, or we ran out of sugar. This is something you will say very often in real conversations. Now, let us practice with a small conversation style. Repeat after me. I sat down for breakfast. Again, I realized I ran out of milk. One more time. So I went out again. Say it. I picked up some milk. Your turn. Then I came back and cleaned up the kitchen. Now, please notice something important. These phrasal verbs help you speak smoothly. Instead of thinking too much, you just follow the flow. Let us continue. After breakfast, you might head out for work or school. For example, I headed out at 8 a.m. This means to leave or go somewhere. Another similar one is set off. For example, I set off early to avoid traffic. Now imagine this full situation. I woke up early. I got up quickly. I turned off my alarm. I washed up and put on my clothes. I made up my bed. I sat down for breakfast, but I ran out of milk. So I went out and picked some up. Then I came back, cleaned up, and headed out for work. This is how English flows naturally. Simple actions connected with phrasal verbs. So, let us do a slightly deeper practice. I will guide you to speak in your mind. Say this slowly. This morning, I woke up at. I got up at. I turned off. I turned on. I washed up and put on. I made up. I went out and picked up. Then I came back and cleaned up. Finally, I headed out. Pause here and complete these sentences with your own life. This is how you make English personal and powerful. Now, let us add a few more useful phrasal verbs for daily conversations. Look for, which means to search. For example, I was looking for my keys this morning. Another one is find out, which means to discover information. For example, I found out that the meeting was canceled. You can combine them in real life. I was looking for my keys and then I found them under the table. Or, I looked for information online and found out the answer. Now, let us practice again. Say it. I looked for my phone. Repeat that. I found it in my bag. Repeat after me. I found out something new today. Very good. Keep going. Another important phrasal verb is come back, which means to return. For example, I came back home in the evening. And also, go back, which means to return to a place. For example, I went back to the store because I forgot something. Now, let us connect more ideas. Repeat after me. I went out in the morning. Again, I came back home later. One more time. Then I went back to the store. You see how natural this sounds? Now take a moment, relax, and repeat everything in your mind. Do not rush. Fluency grows slowly but strongly. We are just getting started, and you are already learning so many useful phrasal verbs that you can use today in real-life conversations. Keep listening, keep repeating, and keep imagining your own daily situations. Let us continue building your fluency step by step. Now that you have practiced some basic phrasal verbs for your morning routine, we are going to move deeper into your daily life, especially how you communicate, interact with people, and handle everyday situations using natural English. Imagine you arrive at your workplace, your school, or even a place where you meet people. One of the most common phrasal verbs you will use is talk to. For example, I talked to my manager this morning, or I need to talk to you about something important. This is simple, but very powerful in daily conversations. Now, let us add another one. Speak up. This means to talk louder or more clearly. For example, can you speak up? I cannot hear you. This is something you will hear very often, especially when communication is not clear. Another useful phrasal verb is come in. For example, please come in, or she came in late today. This simply means to enter a place. And the opposite is go out, which you already learned. So you can say, he came in quietly and then went out after a few minutes. Now, let us build a short real-life situation. I came into the office. I talked to my colleague, but he asked me to speak up because it was noisy. Now, pause and repeat that slowly in your mind. Feel the flow. Let us move forward. During your day, You often need to deal with situations. This is a very important phrasal verb. Deal with means to handle something. For example, I had to deal with a difficult customer today. Or, she deals with problems very calmly. Now, let us connect it with another one. Work on, which means to focus your effort on something. For example, I am working on a new project, or I worked on my English speaking skills today. Listen to this small example. I came in early. I worked on my tasks and I had to deal with a few problems. This is exactly how native speakers talk. Now, let us slow down and practice together again. Say it. I came in. Repeat that. I talked to my colleague. Repeat after me. I spoke up clearly. Again. I worked on my tasks. One more time. I dealt with a problem. Good. Keep going. You are building real fluency. Now, let us continue with communication phrasal verbs. One very common one is call back. For example, I will call you back later. This means you will return someone's call. Another one is pick up, which you already learned, but now in a different context. For example, she did not pick up the phone. You can combine them like this. I called him, but he did not pick up. So he called me back later. Now repeat this slowly. This is how you train your brain. Another useful one is hang up, which means to end a phone call. For example, do not hang up. I need to tell you something. Or, he hung up suddenly. Now listen to this conversation-style example. I called her, but she did not pick up. Then she called me back. We talked for a while, and then she hung up. This is natural, everyday English. Now, let us move into social situations. When you meet someone, you might run into them. This means to meet someone unexpectedly. For example, I ran into an old friend at the market. Another one is get along with, which means to have a good relationship. For example, I get along with my coworkers very well.
Now, listen carefully. I ran into my friend yesterday. We talked for a while, and I realized we still get along very well.
Now, repeat that slowly. Say it. I ran into my friend. Repeat that. We talked. Repeat after me. We get along well. Excellent. Now, let us continue. Sometimes you need to help out, which means to help someone. For example, I helped out my colleague with a task, or she always helps out her friends. Another useful one is figure out, which means to understand or solve something. For example, I could not figure out the problem, or I finally figured it out. Now, let us connect them. I helped out my friend, and together we figured out the solution. This is how phrasal verbs naturally combine in real conversations. Now let us practice again. Say it. I helped out. Your turn. I figured it out. Repeat after me. We solved the problem. Take your time. Repeat again. Now let us move into another situation. Sometimes things do not go as planned and you need to give up. This means to stop trying. For example, do not give up. Keep practicing. Another one is keep on, which means to continue. For example, Keep on learning. Keep on trying. Now listen to this motivational example. I felt tired, but I did not give up. I kept on practicing my English. Now repeat that. Feel the emotion. Say it. I did not give up. Repeat that. I kept on going. Very good. Now let us add another important phrasal verb, take care of, which means to look after something or someone. For example, I take care of my responsibilities, or she takes care of her family. Now, connect it. I work hard. I take care of my tasks. And I do not give up. This is powerful, simple English. Now, let us go a little deeper into daily life situations. Imagine you are busy and need to organize your time. You might say, catch up. This means to reach the same level or to do something you missed. For example, I need to catch up on my work, or let us catch up later. Another one is fall behind, which is the opposite. For example, I fell behind on my work because I was sick. Now listen carefully. I fell behind last week, but today I am trying to catch up. Now repeat. Say it. I fell behind. Repeat that. I need to catch up. Excellent. Now, let us bring everything together in a longer daily life story. I came into work early. I talked to my manager and worked on my tasks. I had to deal with a few problems, but I did not give up. I kept on trying. Later, I ran into a colleague and we helped each other out. Together, we figured out a solution. I realized I had fallen behind on some work, so I stayed late to catch up. After finishing everything, I called a friend, but he did not pick up. He called me back later, and we talked before hanging up. This is real conversational English, natural, connected, and full of useful phrasal verbs. Now, take a moment, pause, close your eyes if you want, and imagine your own day. Try to describe it using these phrasal verbs. Do not worry about mistakes. Just keep going. Say this in your mind. Today, I came in. I worked on. I dealt with. I talked to. I helped out. I figured out. I did not give up. I caught up on. This is how you train fluency step by step with real-life language. We are building something strong here. And now we will continue with even more useful phrasal verbs that you can use in conversations about feelings, plans, and everyday situations. Let us continue. You are doing really well. Now, we are going to move into another very important part of daily English, talking about your feelings, emotions, and personal experiences. And this is where phrasal verbs become even more powerful because native speakers use them all the time to express how they feel in a natural and relaxed way. Let us begin with a very common one, cheer up. This means to become happier or to make someone feel happier. For example, I was feeling sad, but my friend helped me cheer up. Or, cheer up. Everything will be okay. Now, let us add another one. Calm down. This means to relax after feeling angry or nervous. For example, I needed some time to calm down after the argument. Or, just calm down and take a deep breath. Now, listen to this simple situation. I felt stressed, so I tried to calm down. Later, I talked to a friend and it helped me cheer up. Now, Repeat slowly. Say it. I calmed down. Repeat that. I cheered up. Good. Keep going. Now, let us continue. Sometimes you feel excited or happy about something. You can use look forward to. This is a very important phrasal verb. For example, I am looking forward to the weekend, or I look forward to meeting you. Another one is end up, which means the final result of a situation. For example, I planned to study, but I ended up watching a movie. Now, listen carefully. I was looking forward to studying, but I ended up getting distracted. Now repeat. Say it. I looked forward to it. Repeat that. I ended up doing something else. This is very natural English. Now, let us go deeper into emotional expressions. Sometimes you need to open up, which means to share your feelings. For example, it is hard for him to open up about his emotions, or she opened up to me about her problems. Another one is bottle up, which means to keep your feelings inside. For example, do not bottle up your emotions. It is better to talk about them. Now connect them. He did not open up. He kept everything bottled up. Now, repeat that slowly. Say it. He opened up. Repeat that. He bottled up his feelings. Very good. Now, let us move into situations where something surprises you. You can use find out, which you learned earlier, but now in an emotional context. For example, I found out something surprising today. Another one is turn out, which means the result of something. For example, the day turned out better than I expected. Now listen. I was worried at first, but everything turned out fine. Now repeat. Say it. It turned out well. Excellent. Now, let us continue with reactions and feelings. Sometimes you feel tired or exhausted. You can use wear out. For example, the long day really wore me out. Another one is burn out, which is a stronger version. It means extreme exhaustion from too much work. For example, he burned out after working too hard. Now, listen carefully. I worked all day and it really wore me out. Now repeat. Say it. I was worn out. Good. Keep going. Now, let us talk about motivation and effort. Sometimes you need to push through, which means to continue despite difficulty. For example, I felt tired, but I pushed through and finished my work. Another one is keep up, which means to stay at the same level or continue. For example, it is hard to keep up with everything. Now connect them. I was tired, but I pushed through and I tried to keep up with my tasks. Now repeat. Say it. I pushed through. Repeat that. I kept up. Very good. Now, let us move into social emotions and reactions. Sometimes you might get over something, which means to recover from a problem or emotion. For example, it took me time to get over the disappointment. Another one is move on, which means to continue your life after something ends. For example, it is time to move on and focus on the future. Now listen. I was upset, but I got over it and I moved on. Now repeat. Say it. I got over it. Repeat that. I moved on. Excellent. Now, Let us build a longer emotional story using these phrasal verbs. I had a stressful day at first. I felt overwhelmed, so I tried to calm down. I talked to a friend and it helped me cheer up. I realized I had been bottling up my feelings, so I decided to open up. Later, I found out that things were not as bad as I thought. In the end, everything turned out fine. Even though I felt worn out, I pushed through and finished my work. Now, I am ready to move on and focus on tomorrow. This is natural, smooth, and emotionally expressive English. Now, let us practice together again, slowly with feeling. Say it. I felt stressed. Repeat that. I calmed down. Repeat after me. I cheered up. Again, I opened up. One more time. I did not bottle up my feelings. Your turn. I found out something new. Say it back. Everything turned out fine. Echo that. I was worn out. Repeat that. I pushed through. Repeat after me. I got over it. Again, I moved on. Take your time. Repeat again. This is how you build confidence. Now, let us move into planning and decision-making, which is another important part of daily conversations. One common phrasal verb is plan ahead, which means to prepare for the future. For example, I like to plan ahead for my week. Another one is think over, which means to consider something carefully. For example, I need to think it over before making a decision. Now listen. I planned ahead, but I still needed to think things over. Now repeat. Say it. I planned ahead. Repeat that. I thought it over. Good. Another useful one is go with, which means to choose something. For example, I decided to go with the first option. And turn down, which means to reject something. For example, I turned down the offer. Now connect them. I thought it over and I decided to go with a better option. I turned down the first one. Now repeat. Say it. I went with it. Repeat that. I turned it down. Excellent. Now, let us bring everything together in one natural daily life flow. I woke up feeling a bit stressed, but I tried to calm down. I planned ahead for my day and thought things over during the day. I worked hard and pushed through my tasks. Even though I felt worn out, I did not give up. Later, I talked to a friend and it helped me cheer up. I opened up about my feelings instead of bottling them up. In the end, everything turned out well and I felt ready to move on. Now, pause and imagine your own day again. Use these expressions in your mind. Make your own sentences. Say it slowly. Today I felt. I tried to calm down. I cheered up. I opened up. I did not bottle up. I pushed through. I got over. I moved on. You are training your brain to think in English. This is the key to fluency. Keep going. We are building something strong together. And now we will explore more phrasal verbs related to travel, movement, and everyday actions that you use when going outside, meeting people, and living your daily life. Let us continue. You are building a strong and natural flow in English. Now, we are going to move into another very practical area of daily conversations: movement, travel, and everyday actions outside your home. This is where phrasal verbs become even more visible in real life because almost every action we describe uses them. Imagine you are leaving your home. One of the most common phrasal verbs is step out. For example, I stepped out for a few minutes, or I need to step out and take a call. This simply means to leave a place for a short time. Another very common one is head out, which you learned earlier. But now let us use it more naturally. For example, I am heading out now, or we headed out early in the morning. Now, let us connect them. I stepped out for a while, and then I headed out to meet a friend. Now, repeat slowly. Say it. I stepped out. Repeat that. I headed out. Good. Keep going. Now, let us talk about transportation. When you enter a car, bus, or train, you can say, get in. For example, I got in the car and left. And when you leave it, you say, get out. For example, I got out of the car near the store. Now, listen carefully. I got in the car. I drove for a while and then I got out near the market. Now repeat. Say it. I got in. Repeat that. I got out. Excellent. Another very useful pair is get on and get off. We use these for buses, trains, or planes. For example, I got on the bus at 8 and I got off at the next stop. Now listen. I got on the bus and got off near my office. Now repeat. Say it. I got on. Repeat that. I got off. Very good. Now, let us continue. When you arrive somewhere, you can use show up. For example, he showed up late, or she did not show up at all. This means to arrive, often unexpectedly or later than expected. Another one is drop by, which means to visit someone for a short time. For example, I dropped by my friend's house yesterday. Now connect them. I showed up late, but I still dropped by to say hello. Now repeat. Say it. I showed up. Repeat that. I dropped by. Good. Now, let us move into everyday errands. When you go to a place quickly, you might say, stop by. For example, I stopped by the store on my way home. This is very common in daily conversations. Another one is pick up, which you already know, but now again in real-life movement. For example, I picked up some food on the way back. Now listen. I stopped by the store and picked up some snacks. Now repeat. Say it. I stopped by. Repeat that. I picked up something. Excellent. Now, let us talk about directions and movement. One important phrasal verb is go along, which means to continue moving in a direction. For example, go along this road and turn left. Another one is turn around, which means to change direction. For example, I turned around because I forgot something. Now listen carefully. I went along the street, then I turned around and came back. Now repeat. Say it. I went along. Repeat that. I turned around. Very good. Now let us continue. Sometimes you need to look around, which means to explore a place. For example, I looked around the market, or we looked around the city. Another one is check out, which means to examine or explore something. For example, let us check out this new place. Now, connect them. I looked around the area and checked out a few shops. Now, repeat. Say it. I looked around. Repeat that. I checked it out. Good. Keep going. Now, let us move into situations where things happen unexpectedly. You might run out of something, which you already learned, but now in a real outdoor situation. For example, I ran out of cash while shopping. Another one is come across, which means to find something by chance. For example, I came across an interesting book. Now listen, I ran out of money, but I came across a small cafe and decided to relax. Now repeat. Say it. I ran out of something. Repeat that. I came across something. Excellent. Now, let us talk about returning home. You can use come back and go back, but also another useful one is head back. For example, I headed back home after a long day. Now connect them. I headed out in the morning and headed back in the evening. Now repeat. Say it. I headed back. Very natural. Now, let us build a longer real-life story using these phrasal verbs. I stepped out of my house in the morning. I headed out to work. I got on the bus and got off near my office. I showed up a bit late, but everything was fine. After work, I stopped by a store and picked up some groceries. Then, I looked around the area and checked out a new cafe. Later, I got in a car and headed back home. On the way, I ran out of cash, but I came across a small shop where I could pay by card. Finally, I got out of the car and went back home feeling relaxed. Now, pause and imagine this clearly. Now, let us practice together. Say it. I stepped out. Repeat that. I headed out. Repeat after me. I got on. Again, I got off. One more time. I showed up. Your turn. I stopped by. Say it back. I picked up something. Echo that. I looked around. Repeat that. I checked it out. Repeat after me. I came across something. Again, I headed back. Repeat again slowly. Feel the rhythm. Now, let us add a few more useful phrasal verbs for movement. Walk around. For example, I walked around the park. And hang around, which means to stay in a place without a clear purpose. For example, we hung around after the meeting. Now listen. I walked around the park and then hung around with my friends. Now repeat. Say it. I walked around. Repeat that. I hung around. Good. Another important one is move around, which means to change places. For example, I moved around the city a lot today. And sit around, which means to do nothing. For example, I do not want to sit around all day. Now connect them. I did not sit around. I moved around and stayed active. Now repeat. Say it. I did not sit around. Repeat that. I moved around. Excellent. Now take a deep breath. You are doing really well. You are not just learning phrasal verbs. You are learning how to think and speak in real English situations. Now imagine your own day outside and say it in your mind. Today, I stepped out. I headed out. I got on. I got off. I stopped by. I picked up. I looked around. I came across. I headed back. This is how fluency becomes natural. Keep going. We are building a strong foundation. And now we will explore more phrasal verbs related to food, shopping, and everyday interactions that you experience almost every day. Let us continue. You are building strong momentum now, and your understanding of phrasal verbs is becoming more natural, step by step. Now we are going to move into another very important part of daily life: food, shopping, and everyday interactions. These are situations you experience almost every day, and native speakers use phrasal verbs constantly in these moments. Imagine you are feeling hungry and thinking about food. One very common phrasal verb is eat out, which means to eat at a restaurant. For example, I like to eat out on weekends, or we ate out last night. Now, let us add another one, grab something, which means to get something quickly, usually food. For example, I grabbed a sandwich before work. Now, connect them. I did not have time to cook, so I grabbed something quickly. Or, I decided to eat out. Now repeat slowly. Say it. I ate out. Repeat that. I grabbed something. Good. Keep going. Now let us move into ordering food. A very useful phrasal verb is order in, which means to order food to your home. For example, I was tired, so I ordered in. Another one is get takeout, which means to buy food and eat it somewhere else. For example, I got some takeout and went home. Now, listen carefully. I did not want to cook, so I ordered in. Or sometimes I get takeout. Now, repeat. Say it. I ordered in. Repeat that. I got takeout. Excellent. Now, let us talk about cooking. One useful phrasal verb is heat up. For example, I heated up some food. Another one is cut up, which means to cut into pieces. For example, I cut up some vegetables. Now connect them. I cut up the vegetables and then heated up the food. Now repeat. Say it. I cut up. Repeat that. I heated up. Very good. Now, let us move into shopping situations. When you go shopping, you often try on clothes. For example, I tried on a jacket. Another one is pick out, which means to choose something. For example, I picked out a nice shirt. Now, listen. I tried on a few clothes and picked out the best one. Now, repeat. Say it. I tried it on. Repeat that. I picked it out. Excellent. Now, let us continue. Sometimes you need to pay for something. For example, I paid for my groceries. And another one is check out, which means to complete your purchase. For example, I checked out at the counter. Now connect them. I picked out what I needed, paid for it, and checked out. Now repeat. Say it. I paid for it. Repeat that. I checked out. Good. Now, let us move into situations where something is not available. You can use sell out, which means something is no longer available because it was all sold. For example, the product sold out quickly. Another one is run out of, which you already know. For example, the store ran out of bread. Now listen. I wanted to buy it, but it sold out. Now repeat. Say it. It sold out. Very natural. Now let us talk about returning items. Sometimes you might take back something, which means to return it to the store. For example, I took back the shirt because it did not fit. Another one is give back, which means to return something to someone. For example, I gave back the money. Now connect them. I took back the item and gave it back to the seller. Now repeat. Say it. I took it back. Repeat that. I gave it back. Excellent. Now let us move into daily interactions with people. Sometimes you might wait for someone. For example, I waited for my friend. Another one is meet up, which means to meet someone socially. For example, let us meet up later. Now listen. I waited for my friend and then we met up. Now repeat. Say it. I waited for. Repeat that. I met up. Good. Now let us continue. When you spend time together, you might hang out, which means to spend time casually. For example, we hung out at a cafe. Another one is catch up, which you learned earlier, but now in a social context. For example, we caught up after a long time. Now connect them. We hung out and caught up. Now repeat. Say it. We hung out. Repeat that. We caught up. Very natural. Now let us build a longer daily life story using these phrasal verbs. I felt hungry, so I decided to eat out. But first, I grabbed something small because I was in a hurry. Later, I met up with a friend and we hung out at a cafe. We ordered food and talked for a while to catch up. After that, I went shopping. I tried on a few clothes and picked out what I liked. I paid for everything and checked out. But one item did not fit well, so I took it back the next day and gave it back to the store. In the evening, I did not feel like cooking, so I ordered in and relaxed at home. Now pause. Imagine this clearly. This is your real life in English. Now let us practice together again. Say it. I ate out. Repeat that. I grabbed something. Repeat after me. I ordered in. Again. I got takeout. One more time. I cut up. Your turn. I heated up. Say it back. I tried it on. Echo that. I picked it out. Repeat that. I paid for it. Repeat after me. I checked out. Again. I took it back. One more time. I gave it back. Your turn. I met up. Say it back. I hung out. Echo that. I caught up. Repeat again slowly with feeling. Now, let us add a few more useful phrasal verbs related to daily interactions. Bring up, which means to mention something in a conversation. For example, he brought up an interesting topic. Another one is talk over, which means to discuss something. For example, let us talk it over. Now, listen. We met up and brought up some important topics. We talked everything over. Now repeat. Say it. I brought it up. Repeat that. We talked it over. Excellent. Another one is come over, which means to visit someone's home. For example, come over this evening. And drop off, which means to leave something or someone at a place. For example, I dropped off my friend at home. Now connect them. My friend came over and later I dropped him off. Now repeat. Say it. He came over. Repeat that. I dropped him off. Very good. Now take a deep breath. You are building real natural English step by step. Now imagine your own day again and describe it in your mind. Today I ate out. I met up with. We hung out. We talked things over. I picked out. I paid for. I came home and ordered in. This is how you start thinking in English without translating. Keep going. You are doing great. And now we will continue with even more phrasal verbs related to work, productivity, and daily responsibilities, so you can express yourself clearly in any situation. Let us continue. You are building a strong connection with English now, and your ability to understand and use phrasal verbs is growing naturally. Now we are going to focus on work, productivity, and daily responsibilities. These are situations where phrasal verbs are used constantly in real conversations, whether you are talking about your job, your studies, or your daily tasks. Let us begin with a very common one, start off, which means to begin something. For example, I started off my day with an important task. Or, let us start off with something simple. Now add another one. Carry on, which means to continue. For example, I carried on working even after lunch. Now connect them. I started off early and carried on working throughout the day. Now repeat slowly. Say it. I started off, repeat that. I carried on. Good, keep going. Now, let us talk about handling tasks. A very useful phrasal verb is take on, which means to accept responsibility. For example, I took on a new project. Another one is deal with, which you already learned, but now again in a work context. For example, I had to deal with a lot of tasks today. Now listen. I took on a new responsibility and dealt with it carefully. Now repeat. Say it. I took it on. Repeat that. I dealt with it. Excellent. Now, let us move into completing tasks. One important phrasal verb is finish off, which means to complete something. For example, I finished off my work before leaving. Another one is wrap up, which also means to complete something, often at the end. For example, let us wrap up this meeting. Now, connect them. I finished off my tasks and wrapped up the day successfully. Now, repeat. Say it. I finished it off. Repeat that. I wrapped it up. Very good. Now, let us continue. Sometimes you need to keep up with your work. This means to stay at the same level. For example, I try to keep up with my assignments. Another one is fall behind, which you already know. For example, I fell behind because I was busy. Now, listen. I fell behind for a few days, but now I am trying to keep up. Now repeat. Say it. I fell behind. Repeat that. I kept up. Excellent. Now, let us talk about improving your work or skills. You can use work on, which you already learned, but also build up, which means to gradually improve. For example, I am building up my confidence. Another one is brush up on, which means to improve a skill you already have. For example, I need to brush up on my English. Now, connect them. I am working on my skills and trying to build them up. I also brush up on my English every day. Now, repeat. Say it. I worked on it. Repeat that. I built it up. Repeat after me. I brushed up on it. Good. Now, let us move into communication at work. Sometimes you need to bring up something. For example, I brought up an issue in the meeting. Another one is point out, which means to show or explain something clearly. For example, she pointed out a mistake. Now, listen. I brought up a problem and my manager pointed it out clearly. Now, repeat. Say it. I brought it up. Repeat that. She pointed it out. Very natural. Now, let us continue. Sometimes you need to go over something, which means to review. For example, I went over my notes. Another one is look into, which means to investigate. For example, I will look into this issue. Now connect them. I went over my work and looked into the problem. Now repeat. Say it. I went over it. Repeat that. I looked into it. Excellent. Now, let us talk about deadlines and pressure. Sometimes you need to catch up on work, which you already know. For example, I need to catch up on my tasks. Another one is get through, which means to complete something difficult. For example, I got through a lot of work today. Now listen. I had a lot to do, but I got through everything. Now repeat. Say it. I got through it. Very good. Now let us move into teamwork. Sometimes you need to work together, or in phrasal form, team up. For example, we teamed up to finish the project. Another one is help out, which you already know. For example, we helped each other out. Now connect them. We teamed up and helped each other out. Now repeat. Say it. We teamed up. Repeat that. We helped out. Excellent. Now, let us build a longer work-related story using these phrasal verbs. I started off my day early. I took on a new project and worked on it carefully. I had to deal with several problems, but I did not fall behind. I tried to keep up with everything. I went over my notes and looked into some issues. During the meeting, I brought up an important point and my manager pointed out a few improvements. Later, I teamed up with a colleague and we helped each other out. Together, we got through all the work. In the end, I finished off my tasks and wrapped up the day feeling satisfied.
Now pause and imagine this clearly. Now, let us practice together again. Say it. I started off. Repeat that. I carried on. Repeat after me. I took on. Again. I dealt with. One more time. I finished it off. Your turn. I wrapped it up. Say it back. I kept up. Echo that. I fell behind. Repeat that. I worked on. Repeat after me. I built up. Again. I brushed up on. One more time. I brought it up. Your turn. I pointed it out. Say it back. I went over. Echo that. I looked into. Repeat that. I got through. Repeat after me. I teamed up. Again. I helped out. Repeat slowly. Take your time. Now, let us add a few more useful phrasal verbs related to responsibility. Take over, which means to take control. For example, she took over the project. And hand in, which means to submit something. For example, I handed in my report. Now connect them.
I finished my work and handed it in later. Someone else took over. Now repeat. Say it. I handed it in. Repeat that. She took over. Very good. Another useful one is set up, which means to arrange something. For example, I set up a meeting. And carry out, which means to perform a task. For example, we carried out the plan. Now listen. I set up a plan and carried it out successfully. Now repeat. Say it. I set it up. Repeat that. I carried it out. Excellent. Now take a deep breath. You are doing really well. You are learning how to express real-life work situations in English with confidence and clarity. Now imagine your own day again and say it in your mind. Today I started off. I worked on. I dealt with. I brought up. I looked into. I got through. I finished off. I handed in. This is how you move from basic English to fluent English. Keep going. Now we will continue with even more phrasal verbs related to relationships, conversations, and everyday communication, so you can speak naturally in any situation. Let us continue. You are making steady progress, and your understanding of phrasal verbs is becoming more natural and automatic. Now, we are going to focus on relationships, conversations, and everyday communication. This is one of the most important areas because it helps you connect with people and express yourself clearly in real-life situations. Let us begin with a very common phrasal verb, get along, which means to have a good relationship with someone. For example, I get along with my neighbors, or they get along very well. Now, let us add another one, fall out, which means to have an argument and stop being friendly. For example, they fell out over a small issue. Now, connect them. We used to get along well, but then we fell out. Now, repeat slowly. Say it. We get along. Repeat that. We fell out. Good. Keep going. Now, let us continue. Sometimes you want to improve a relationship. You can use make up, which means to become friends again after an argument. For example, they argued, but later they made up. Another one is sort out, which means to solve a problem. For example, we talked and sorted things out. Now listen, we had a disagreement, but we sorted it out and made up. Now repeat. Say it. We sorted it out. Repeat that. We made up. Excellent. Now, let us move into conversations. One important phrasal verb is bring up, which you already learned, but now more in a social context. For example, she brought up an interesting topic during dinner. Another one is talk about, which is simple but very common. For example, we talked about our plans. Now connect them. We met and brought up different topics. We talked about many things. Now, repeat. Say it. We brought it up. Repeat that. We talked about it. Very natural. Now, let us continue. Sometimes you need to listen to someone carefully. And another useful one is hear from, which means to receive communication. For example, I have not heard from him in a while. Now listen. I listened to her carefully, but I have not heard from her since. Now repeat. Say it. I listened to. Repeat that. I heard from. Good. Now let us move into expressing opinions and reactions. You can use agree with. For example, I agree with you, and disagree with. For example, I disagree with that idea. Now, connect them. I do not always agree with him, but we still get along. Now repeat. Say it. I agree with. Repeat that. I disagree with. Excellent. Now let us talk about communication problems. Sometimes you need to clear up, which means to solve confusion. For example, let us clear up the misunderstanding. Another one is figure out, which you already know. For example, we tried to figure out the issue. Now listen. There was confusion, but we cleared it up and figured everything out. Now repeat. Say it. We cleared it up. Repeat that. We figured it out. Very good. Now let us continue. Sometimes conversations become difficult and you might break down, which means to lose control emotionally. For example, she broke down during the conversation. Another one is calm down, which you already know. For example, he tried to calm down before speaking. Now connect them. He almost broke down, but he managed to calm down. Now repeat. Say it. He broke down. Repeat that. He calmed down. Good. Now, let us move into making plans with people. One very common phrasal verb is meet up, which you already know. Another one is get together, which means to meet socially. For example, let us get together this weekend. Now listen. We decided to meet up and get together for dinner. Now repeat. Say it. We met up. Repeat that. We got together. Excellent. Now let us continue. When you stay in touch with someone, you can use keep in touch. For example, let us keep in touch. Another one is reach out, which means to contact someone. For example, I reached out to an old friend. Now connect them. I reached out to him and we decided to keep in touch. Now repeat. Say it. I reached out. Repeat that. We kept in touch. Very natural. Now, let us move into supporting others. Sometimes you need to stand by someone, which means to support them. For example, I will stand by you. Another one is look after, which means to take care of someone. For example, she looks after her younger brother. Now listen. I stood by my friend and looked after him when he needed help. Now repeat. Say it. I stood by. Repeat that. I looked after. Excellent. Now, let us build a longer relationship-based story using these phrasal verbs. I have a close friend and we usually get along very well, but sometimes we fall out over small things. When that happens, we talk about the issue and try to sort it out. We always make up in the end. Recently, we met up and got together for dinner. We brought up many interesting topics and talked about our future plans. Even when we disagree with each other, we listen carefully and try to understand. If there is any confusion, we clear it up quickly. We also make sure to keep in touch and reach out regularly. I always stand by my friend, and we support each other in difficult times. Now pause and imagine your own relationships. Now, let us practice together again. Say it. I get along with. Repeat that. I fell out with. Repeat after me. I made up with. Again. I sorted it out. One more time. I brought it up. Your turn. I talked about. Say it back. I listened to. Echo that. I heard from. Repeat that. I agreed with. Repeat after me. I disagreed with. Again. I cleared it up. One more time. I figured it out. Your turn. I met up. Say it back. I got together. Echo that. I kept in touch. Repeat that. I reached out. Repeat after me. I stood by. Again. I looked after. Repeat slowly. Take your time. Now, let us add a few more useful phrasal verbs for conversations. Cut in, which means to interrupt. For example, he cut in while I was speaking. And carry on, which means to continue speaking. For example, please carry on. Now listen. She was talking and someone cut in, but she carried on. Now repeat. Say it. He cut in. Repeat that. She carried on. Good. Another useful one is speak out, which means to express your opinion strongly. For example, she spoke out about the issue. And back up, which means to support with evidence. For example, he backed up his argument with facts. Now connect them. She spoke out and backed up her opinion. Now repeat. Say it. She spoke out. Repeat that. She backed it up. Excellent. Now take a deep breath. You are doing very well. You are learning how to communicate naturally in English using phrasal verbs that native speakers use every day. Now, imagine your own conversations and say this in your mind today. I talked to. I brought up. I listened to. I agreed with. I cleared up. I reached out. I kept in touch. This is how fluency becomes part of your daily thinking. Keep going. Now we will continue with even more phrasal verbs related to problems, challenges, and solutions, so you can express yourself confidently in any situation. Let us continue. You are doing an excellent job staying focused and building your English step by step. Now we are going to explore phrasal verbs related to problems, challenges, and solutions. This is a very important area because in real life, we often need to explain difficulties, describe situations, and talk about how we solve problems. And phrasal verbs make this sound much more natural and fluent. Let us begin with a very common one. Run into, which means to experience a problem. For example, I ran into some issues at work, or we ran into a problem during the project. Now, let us add another one. Deal with, which you already know, but now we use it again in problem situations. For example, I had to deal with a difficult situation. Now, connect them. I ran into a problem, but I dealt with it calmly. Now, repeat slowly. Say it. I ran into a problem. Repeat that. I dealt with it. Good. Keep going. Now, let us continue. Sometimes problems come up, which means they appear unexpectedly. For example, something came up, so I had to change my plan. Another one is sort out, which means to solve a problem. For example, I will sort it out soon. Now listen, a problem came up, but I sorted it out. Now repeat. Say it. It came up. Repeat that. I sorted it out. Excellent. Now, let us move into understanding problems. Sometimes you need to figure out something, which you already know. Another one is work out, which also means to find a solution. For example, I worked out the answer. Now connect them. I could not figure it out at first, but then I worked it out. Now repeat. Say it. I figured it out. Repeat that. I worked it out. Very good. Now, let us continue. Sometimes things do not go as planned and you need to fix up something. For example, I fixed up the problem. Another one is patch up, which means to repair or improve a situation, especially relationships or small problems. For example, we patched things up. Now listen, we had a problem, but we fixed it up and patched things up. Now repeat, say it. I fixed it up. Repeat that. We patched it up. Excellent. Now, let us move into difficult situations. Sometimes you need to get through something, which you already learned, but now in a challenge context. For example, I got through a tough day. Another one is pull through, which means to survive or recover from a difficult situation. For example, he pulled through after a hard time. Now connect them. It was difficult, but I got through it and pulled through in the end. Now repeat. Say it. I got through it. Repeat that. I pulled through. Very good. Now let us continue. Sometimes problems become bigger and you need to break down the situation. This can mean to analyze something step by step. For example, let us break it down and understand it. Another one is point out, which you already know. For example, she pointed out the issue. Now listen, we broke the problem down and pointed out the main issue. Now repeat, say it. We broke it down. Repeat that. We pointed it out. Excellent. Now let us move into taking action. Sometimes you need to step in, which means to take control in a situation. For example, he stepped in to help. Another one is sort out again, because it is very common. Now connect them. The situation got difficult, so I stepped in and sorted it out. Now repeat. Say it. I stepped in. Repeat that. I sorted it out. Good. Now let us continue. Sometimes you need to back out, which means to withdraw from something. For example, he backed out of the plan. Another one is turn down, which means to reject. For example, I turned down the offer. Now listen. I decided to back out and turn down the offer. Now repeat. Say it. I backed out. Repeat that. I turned it down. Very natural. Now let us move into persistence and determination. Sometimes you need to keep on, which you already know. Another one is stick to, which means to continue following something. For example, I stick to my plan. Now connect them. I kept on trying and stuck to my plan. Now repeat. Say it. I kept on. Repeat that. I stuck to it. Excellent. Now, let us build a longer, real-life story using these phrasal verbs. I started my day with a clear plan, but soon I ran into a problem. Something unexpected came up, and I had to deal with it quickly. At first, I could not figure it out, but I worked it out step by step. I broke the problem down and pointed out the main issue. Then, I stepped in and fixed it up. Even though it was difficult, I did not give up. I kept on trying and stuck to my plan. In the end, I got through the challenge and pulled through successfully. Now, pause and imagine your own challenges. Now, let us practice together again. Say it. I ran into a problem. Repeat that. Something came up. Repeat after me. I dealt with it. Again, I figured it out. One more time. I worked it out. Your turn. I fixed it up. Say it back. I got through it. Echo that. I pulled through. Repeat that. I broke it down. Repeat after me. I stepped in. Again, I sorted it out. One more time. I backed out. Your turn. I turned it down. Say it back. I kept on. Echo that. I stuck to it. Repeat slowly. Feel the confidence growing. Now, let us add a few more useful phrasal verbs for problem situations. Look for, which means to search. For example, I looked for a solution and come up with, which means to create or find an idea. For example, I came up with a solution. Now connect them. I looked for answers and came up with a good solution. Now repeat. Say it. I looked for it. Repeat that. I came up with it. Excellent. Another one is set back, which means to delay progress. For example, the problem set me back. And get over, which you already know. For example, I got over the difficulty. Now listen. The problem set me back, but I got over it. Now repeat. Say it. It set me back. Repeat that. I got over it. Very good. Now, take a deep breath. You are doing really well. You are learning how to talk about real problems and real solutions in natural English. Now, imagine your own situation and say it in your mind today. I ran into. Something came up. I dealt with it. I figured it out. I got through it. I came up with a solution. This is how you build strong, confident English. Keep going. Now we will continue with even more phrasal verbs related to habits, lifestyle, and personal growth, so you can express your daily life even more naturally. Let us continue. You are doing an amazing job staying consistent. And now your understanding of phrasal verbs is becoming more natural, more automatic, and more confident. Now we are going to focus on habits, lifestyle, and personal growth. These are the kinds of conversations you have every day when you talk about your routine, your goals, and how you improve yourself. Let us begin with a very common one. Wake up to, which means to become aware of something. For example, I woke up to the importance of learning English. Now, let us add another one. Cut down on, which means to reduce something. For example, I am trying to cut down on junk food. Now, connect them. I woke up to the fact that I needed to change, so I started to cut down on unhealthy habits. Now repeat slowly. Say it. I woke up to it. Repeat that. I cut down on it. Good. Keep going. Now let us continue. Sometimes you want to start a new habit. You can use take up, which means to begin a new activity. For example, I took up reading, or I took up learning English seriously. Another one is stick to, which you already know, but now in habit context. For example, I stick to my routine. Now listen. I took up a new habit and I stuck to it. Now repeat. Say it. I took it up. Repeat that. I stuck to it. Excellent. Now let us move into stopping bad habits. One very useful phrasal verb is give up, which you already know. For example, I gave up smoking. Another one is cut out, which means to remove something completely. For example, I cut out sugar from my diet. Now connect them. I gave up unhealthy habits and cut out bad routines. Now repeat. Say it. I gave it up. Repeat that. I cut it out. Very good. Now let us continue. Sometimes habits take time to develop. You can use build up, which you learned earlier. For example, I am building up a strong routine. Another one is keep up, which means to maintain. For example, I try to keep up my daily practice. Now listen. I built up a habit and now I keep it up every day. Now repeat. Say it. I built it up. Repeat that. I kept it up. Excellent. Now let us move into personal improvement. Sometimes you need to work on yourself. For example, I am working on my confidence. Another one is grow up, which can also mean to become more mature. For example, I grew up learning new skills. Now connect them. I am working on myself and growing up with new experiences. Now repeat. Say it. I worked on it. Repeat that. I grew up. Good. Now let us continue. Sometimes you need to slow down, which means to reduce speed or pressure. For example, I need to slow down and relax. Another one is take it easy, which means to relax. For example, I decided to take it easy today. Now listen. I slowed down and took it easy. Now repeat. Say it. I slowed down. Repeat that. I took it easy. Very natural. Now let us move into motivation. Sometimes you need to keep on, which you already know. Another one is move forward, which means to continue progressing. For example, I want to move forward in my life. Now connect them. I kept on going and moved forward. Now repeat. Say it. I kept on. Repeat that. I moved forward. Excellent. Now let us continue. Sometimes you reflect on your life. You can use look back. For example, I look back at my progress. Another one is learn from, which means to gain knowledge from experience. For example, I learned from my mistakes. Now listen. I looked back at my past and learned from my mistakes. Now repeat. Say it. I looked back. Repeat that. I learned from it. Very good. Now, let us move into setting goals. Sometimes you need to plan ahead, which you learned earlier. Another one is set up, which means to arrange something. For example, I set up a schedule. Now connect them. I planned ahead and set up a routine. Now repeat. Say it. I planned ahead. Repeat that. I set it up. Excellent. Now, let us build a longer lifestyle and personal growth story using these phrasal verbs. I woke up to the fact that I needed to improve my life. So, I started to cut down on unhealthy habits. I took up a new routine and tried to stick to it every day. I gave up bad habits and cut out things that were not helping me. Slowly, I built up a strong routine and kept it up consistently. I worked on myself and learned from my past mistakes. Sometimes I slowed down and took it easy to relax, but I always kept on moving forward. When I look back now, I feel proud of my progress. Now pause and imagine your own growth. Now, let us practice together again. Say it. I woke up to. Repeat that. I cut down on. Repeat after me. I took up. Again. I stuck to. One more time. I gave up. Your turn. I cut out. Say it back. I built up. Echo that. I kept up. Repeat that. I worked on. Repeat after me. I slowed down. Again. I took it easy. One more time. I kept on. Your turn. I moved forward. Say it back. I looked back. Echo that. I learned from. Repeat slowly. Feel the meaning. Now, let us add a few more useful phrasal verbs for lifestyle. Burn out, which you already know, and wind down, which means to relax after stress. For example, I wind down in the evening. Now, connect them. I worked too much and almost burned out, so I decided to wind down. Now repeat. Say it. I burned out. Repeat that. I wound down. Excellent. Another one is pick up, which can mean to improve. For example, my English is picking up. And fall into, which means to start doing something regularly, often unintentionally. For example, I fell into a bad habit. Now listen. I fell into a bad habit, but now I am picking up good ones. Now repeat. Say it. I fell into it. Repeat that. I picked it up. Very good. Now take a deep breath. You are doing great. You are learning how to talk about your habits, your life, and your personal growth in natural English. Now, imagine your own day and your own life and say it in your mind. Today, I worked on. I tried to cut down on. I took up. I kept up. I moved forward. I learned from. This is how you build real fluency. Keep going. Now, we will continue with even more phrasal verbs related to time, daily routines, and common life situations to complete your understanding even further. let us continue. You have come a long way now, and your fluency is growing stronger with every step. Now, we are going to focus on time, daily routines, and common life situations. These are expressions you use every single day when you talk about your schedule, your plans, and how your day flows. Let us begin with a very common phrasal verb, get up to, which means to do something, often something interesting or unexpected. For example, what did you get up to today? Or, I did not get up to too much. Now, let us add another one, go on, which means to continue or to happen. For example, what is going on? Or, life goes on. Now, connect them. I did not get up to much today, just the usual things going on. Now, repeat slowly. Say it. I got up to something. Repeat that. Something is going on. Good. Keep going. Now, let us continue. Sometimes you need to wake up early and then set off, which you learned earlier. Another useful one is start off, which you also know, but now in a daily routine context. For example, I started off my day with exercise. Now listen. I woke up early. I started off my day with a walk, and then I set off for work. Now repeat. Say it. I started off. Repeat that. I set off. Excellent. Now, let us move into managing time. One very useful phrasal verb is run out of time. For example, I ran out of time today. Another one is take up, which means to use time. For example, this task took up most of my day. Now, connect them. I had a lot to do, but I ran out of time and my work took up the whole day. Now repeat. Say it. I ran out of time. Repeat that. It took up my time. Very good. Now, let us continue. Sometimes plans change. You can use put off, which means to delay. For example, I put off my plans. Another one is call off, which means to cancel. For example, the meeting was called off. Now listen. I put off my plans, and then the meeting was called off. Now repeat. Say it. I put it off. Repeat that. It was called off. Excellent. Now, let us move into daily routines. Sometimes you need to wake up, get up, and then go through your routine. Go through means to complete or experience something. For example, I go through my daily routine every morning. Another one is carry on, which you know. Now, connect them. I woke up, got up, and went through my routine. Then I carried on with my day. Now repeat. Say it. I went through it. Repeat that. I carried on. Very natural. Now let us continue. Sometimes you need to fit in something, which means to include something in your schedule. For example, I tried to fit in some exercise. Another one is squeeze in, which is similar but often used when time is limited. For example, I squeezed in a quick break. Now listen, I was busy, but I managed to fit in some study time and squeezed in a short walk. Now repeat. Say it. I fit it in. Repeat that. I squeezed it in. Excellent. Now let us move into unexpected situations. Sometimes things come up, which you already know. Another one is turn up, which means to arrive or appear. For example, something unexpected turned up. Now connect them. Something came up and another problem turned up. Now repeat. Say it. It came up. Repeat that. It turned up. Very good. Now let us continue. Sometimes you need to get back to something, which means to return to a task. For example, I will get back to work. Another one is come back to, which is similar. For example, I came back to finish my task. Now listen. I took a break and then got back to work. Now repeat. Say it. I got back to it. Repeat that. I came back to it. Excellent. Now let us move into ending your day. One useful phrasal verb is wind down, which you learned earlier. Another one is settle down, which means to relax or become calm. For example, I settled down in the evening. Now connect them. I wound down after work and settled down for the night. Now repeat. Say it. I wound down. Repeat that. I settled down. Very natural. Now, let us build a longer daily routine story using these phrasal verbs. I woke up early and got up quickly. I started off my day with a short walk. Then I set off for work. During the day, I had a lot to do and my tasks took up most of my time. I even ran out of time and had to put off some plans. Later, something unexpected came up and I had to deal with it. I tried to fit in a short break and squeezed in some relaxation. After finishing my work, I got back to a few tasks I had missed. In the evening, I came back home, wound down, and settled down to relax. Now, pause and imagine your own routine. Now, let us practice together again. Say it. I got up to something. Repeat that. Went on. Repeat after me. I started off. Again. I set off. One more time. I ran out of time. Your turn. It took up my time. Say it back. I put it off. Echo that. It was called off. Repeat that. I went through. Repeat after me. I carried on. Again. I fit in. One more time. I squeezed it in. Your turn. Something came up. Say it back. Something turned up. Echo that. I got back to. Repeat that. I wound down. Repeat after me. I settled down. Repeat slowly. Feel the rhythm. Now, let us add a few more useful phrasal verbs related to time and routine. Hold on, which means to wait. For example, hold on a moment. And hang on, which is similar. For example, hang on, I will be right back. Now, connect them. Hold on, I need a second. Hang on, I will finish this. Now, repeat. Say it. Hold on. Repeat that. Hang on. Excellent. Another one is come along, which means to progress. For example, my English is coming along well. And keep up with, which you already know. Now listen. My skills are coming along and I am trying to keep up with my practice. Now repeat. Say it. It is coming along. Repeat that. I keep up with it. Very good. Now, take a deep breath. You are doing really well. You are now able to talk about your daily routine, your time, and your schedule using natural English. Now, imagine your own day again and say it in your mind. Today, I woke up. I started off. I set off. I ran out of time. I got back to. I wound down. This is how fluency becomes automatic. Keep going. Now we will continue with the final set of phrasal verbs and a complete review so you can confidently use everything you have learned in real conversations. Let us continue. You have reached an advanced stage now, and you are very close to mastering a wide range of essential phrasal verbs. Now, we will expand your usage even further and then begin to bring everything together so you can use these expressions naturally, smoothly, and confidently in real-life conversations. Let us begin with a very useful phrasal verb, bring about, which means to cause something to happen. For example, learning English every day can bring about positive change in your life. Now let us add another one, come about, which means something happens. For example, how did this situation come about? Now connect them. Hard work can bring about success, and positive results come about over time. Now repeat slowly. Say it. It brought about change. Repeat that. It came about naturally. Good. Keep going. Now, let us continue. Sometimes you need to come up against something, which means to face a difficulty. For example, I came up against a big challenge. Another one is get around, which means to find a way to solve or avoid a problem. For example, I found a way to get around the issue. Now listen. I came up against a problem, but I got around it. Now repeat. Say it. I came up against it. Repeat that. I got around it. Excellent. Now, let us move into thinking and decision-making. One important phrasal verb is weigh up, which means to consider options carefully. For example, I weighed up my choices. Another one is go for, which means to choose. For example, I decided to go for the best option. Now, connect them. I weighed up my options and went for the right decision. Now, repeat. Say it. I weighed it up. Repeat that. I went for it. Very good. Now, let us continue. Sometimes you need to rule out something, which means to eliminate an option. For example, I ruled out that idea. Another one is narrow down, which means to reduce options. For example, I narrowed down my choices. Now listen. I ruled out the bad options and narrowed down my choices. Now repeat. Say it. I ruled it out. Repeat that. I narrowed it down. Excellent. Now, let us move into communication and explanation. Sometimes you need to spell out something, which means to explain clearly. For example, let me spell it out for you. Another one is layout, which means to explain something step by step. For example, she laid out the plan clearly. Now connect them. He spelled it out and laid out the plan in detail. Now repeat. Say it. He spelled it out. Repeat that. She laid it out. Very natural. Now let us continue. Sometimes you need to sum up, which means to give a short summary. For example, let me sum up the idea. Another one is wrap up, which you already know. Now listen. Let me sum up everything and wrap up this discussion. Now repeat. Say it. I summed it up. Repeat that. I wrapped it up. Excellent. Now let us move into reactions and outcomes. Sometimes things turn out, which you know. Another one is end up, which you also know. Now connect them. Things turned out well even though I ended up taking a different path. Now repeat. Say it. It turned out well. Repeat that. I ended up doing something else. Very good. Now let us continue. Sometimes you need to follow through, which means to complete something you started. For example, I followed through on my plan. Another one is carry out, which you already learned. Now listen. I followed through and carried out my plan successfully. Now repeat. Say it. I followed through. Repeat that. I carried it out. Excellent. Now, let us move into confidence and expression. Sometimes you need to stand up for, which means to defend your ideas. For example, I stood up for my opinion. Another one is speak up, which you learned earlier. Now connect them. I spoke up and stood up for what I believe in. Now repeat. Say it. I spoke up. Repeat that. I stood up for it. Very strong expression. Now, let us build a longer, real-life story using these advanced phrasal verbs. I wanted to make an important decision, so I weighed up my options carefully. I ruled out some ideas and narrowed down my choices. I came up against a few challenges, but I found a way to get around them. I decided to go for the best option and followed through on my plan. Along the way, I had to explain my ideas clearly, so I spelled them out and laid out my strategy. In the end, everything turned out well, and my efforts brought about positive results. Now, pause and imagine your own situation. Now, let us practice together again. Say it. I weighed it up. Repeat that. I went for it. Repeat after me. I ruled it out. Again, I narrowed it down. One more time. I came up against. Your turn. I got around it. Say it back. I followed through. Echo that. I carried it out. Repeat that. I spelled it out. Repeat after me. I laid it out. Again. I summed it up. One more time. I wrapped it up. Your turn. It turned out well. Say it back. I ended up. Echo that. I stood up for. Repeat that. I spoke up. Repeat slowly. Feel the confidence. Now, let us begin to bring everything together. You have learned a very large number of phrasal verbs across different areas of life: morning routines, work, relationships, emotions, problems, lifestyle, and time. Now, the key is to connect them naturally in your own speech. Imagine your full day again and describe it in your mind using as many phrasal verbs as you can. I woke up, got up, and started off my day. I went through the routine and headed out. I ran into a few problems, but I dealt with them and worked things out. I met up with people, talked things over, and got along well. I kept up with my tasks and followed through on my plans. Even when things came up, I did not give up. In the end, everything turned out well. Now, repeat that slowly. This is your fluency in action. Take a deep breath. You have done something powerful. You are now able to understand and use a wide range of essential phrasal verbs in real English conversations. Now we will do a complete natural flow practice, bringing everything together in longer speaking patterns, so you can feel confident using these phrasal verbs in your daily life without thinking too much. Let us continue now. This is the moment where everything comes together. You have learned a wide range of phrasal verbs across different areas of daily life. And now we are going to use them in longer, natural speaking flows, so your brain starts connecting everything automatically. This is where your English begins to feel smooth, confident, and real. Imagine your full day from the beginning, and just follow the flow of English naturally. I woke up early this morning. I got up slowly and turned off my alarm. I washed up, put on my clothes, and made up my bed. Then I sat down for a quick breakfast, but I realized I had run out of milk. So I stepped out, stopped by a nearby store, and picked up what I needed. After that, I came back, cleaned up, and headed out for work. On my way, I got on the bus and got off near my office. I showed up a little early, so I went over my notes and worked on a few small tasks. Soon, I ran into a problem, but I did not panic. I broke it down, looked into the details, and worked it out step by step. Even though something unexpected came up, I dealt with it and carried on with my work. Later in the day, I met up with a colleague and we talked things over. We brought up a few ideas, weighed them up carefully, and decided to go for the best option. We teamed up, helped each other out, and followed through on our plan. Even when we fell behind for a moment, we caught up quickly and kept everything on track. During a break, I stepped out for a while and ran into an old friend. We hung out for a few minutes, caught up on life, and talked about what we had been doing recently. Even though we did not agree on everything, we still got along well and enjoyed the conversation. In the afternoon, I had more work to finish. I kept on going, stuck to my plan, and got through all my tasks. I finished off everything I needed to do and handed in my work on time. In the end, everything turned out better than I expected. After work, I headed out again and stopped by a cafe. I ordered something simple and sat down to relax. I looked around, checked out the place, and just took it easy for a while. Later, I came back home, heated up some food, and wound down after a long day. In the evening, I decided to work on myself. I looked back at my day, learned from a few small mistakes, and thought about how to improve. I planned ahead for tomorrow, set up a simple routine, and promised myself to stick to it. I want to keep up this progress and move forward step by step. Now, let us slow down and practice together again. But this time, feel the full flow of your day. Say it. I woke up. Repeat that. I got up. Repeat after me. I stepped out. Again, I picked up. One more time. I headed out. Your turn. I got on. Say it back. I got off. Echo that. I showed up. Repeat that. I worked on. Repeat after me. I ran into. Again. I dealt with. One more time. I worked it out. Your turn. I carried on. Say it back. I met up. Echo that. I talked things over. Repeat that. I went for it. Repeat after me. I teamed up. Again. I caught up. One more time. I hung out. Your turn. I got along. Say it back. I kept on. Echo that. I stuck to. Repeat that. I got through. Repeat after me. I finished off. Again. I handed in. One more time. It turned out well. Your turn. I stopped by. Say it back. I checked out. Echo that. I took it easy. Repeat that. I came back. Repeat after me. I wound down. Again. I worked on myself. One more time. I looked back. Your turn. I learned from. Say it back. I planned ahead. Echo that. I set up. Repeat that. I stuck to it. Repeat after me. I moved forward. Now, take a moment, breathe, and imagine saying all of this in a real conversation. This is how natural English sounds. This is how fluent speakers think, not word by word, but in connected ideas and actions. Now, let us go one step deeper. Imagine a slightly different day and follow the flow again. I woke up feeling a bit tired, but I did not give up. I got up, washed up, and started off my day slowly. I went through my routine and tried to fit in some exercise. Even though I ran out of time, I did not let it set me back. I headed out and got on a bus. Something unexpected came up, but I figured it out and got through the situation. At work, I came up against a challenge. I thought it over, came up with a solution, and carried it out. I brought up my ideas in a meeting, spoke up clearly, and stood up for my opinion. In the end, everything worked out, and I felt more confident. Later, I met up with a friend. We hung out, talked about life, and cleared up a few misunderstandings. We made up, laughed, and decided to keep in touch. Moments like these help you grow and move on. At night, I slowed down, took it easy, and let my mind relax. I looked back at everything that happened, learned from it, and felt proud that I kept on going. Now, repeat this idea in your own way. Do not worry about perfection. Just focus on the flow. Today, I woke up. I started off. I ran into. I figured it out. I got through. I met up. I talked about. I learned from.
I moved forward. This is your English now. Natural, flexible, and expressive. You have built something strong. You have practiced hundreds of essential phrasal verbs in real-life situations. And more importantly, you have trained your mind to think in English through daily actions, emotions, and conversations. Now, just keep practicing like this. Keep repeating, keep imagining, and keep using these expressions in your own life. Because fluency is not about knowing more words. It is about using what you already know again and again until it becomes part of you. Thank you so much for staying with me throughout this lesson. I truly appreciate your time, your focus, and your effort. Today, you did not just learn phrasal verbs, you practiced how to use them in real life, in your daily routine, your conversations, your work, and your personal growth. And that is what really builds fluency. If you keep listening, repeating, and using these expressions again and again, you will start to notice a big change in the way you understand and speak English. Slowly, your sentences will become more natural, your confidence will grow, and you will feel more comfortable expressing yourself in any situation. Try to come back to this lesson whenever you can. Repeat it, speak along with it, and most importantly, try to use these phrasal verbs in your daily life, even in small sentences, because small practice every day creates powerful results over time. If you found this lesson helpful, make sure to support the channel and stay connected for more daily English practice like this. We are here to help you improve step by step. Keep practicing, keep believing in yourself, and I will see you in the next lesson.